All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Orange Grove Missionary Baptist Church Sunday Academy, week 4 for us in our faith and finance. So welcome to those who are in the room. Welcome to our online visitors. Thank you for joining us again. And before we get started, let's go to the Lord in a word of prayer. So, dear Lord, we thank you again for allowing us to come here today, allowing us to gather again to share information, work with one another, and uplift your kingdom. We come to you again seeking guidance, trying to be obedient, and learn how to use our treasures for the upliftment of your kingdom. So again, we just ask you to bless this meeting, bless the Sunday Academy as it goes forward. It's been such a blessing to all of us. Bless those who are here. Bless those who are online. And we ask these things in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, so good morning, everyone. Week 4 in our faith and finances. So today, 2 parts. We seek to talk about savings and investing and doing a little bit of a deeper dive on the ordering of our steps and exactly how we're going to fund those resources. And then we had a request for estate planning. So we're going to do a little bit of talking about estate planning as well today. So those are our 2 main topics. I'm going to try and leave some time for Q&A at the end. If there are any topics you all want to talk about, any questions you have, that would be wonderful. So as always, looking forward to you all's participation. And we will get started. So our first scripture comes from, let's see, this is real small on my page here, Job. Hopefully y'all can see it on the screen. But at any rate, we're talking about the waters. And the living water symbolizes the Holy Spirit. All right? And from that, we get our transformative power of faith. We just talked about the symbolism and the impact beyond oneself. And that's what we've been talking about for this whole time, is that once we take the light off of us and are able to reach contentment and things of that nature, our impact goes so much further than just us. And so I'm so glad our special guest has arrived. Because on Thursday evening in small group, Tony has this knack for knowing what I'm going to talk about. And so he starts going down this road, and I'm like, Tony, stop, because that's week 4. You're getting into my content. So I say all that to say, and Brother Steve, if you can bring the mic up to Tony, that'd be wonderful. I say all that to say I didn't want to steal his thunder, and I wanted him to get out what he was going to talk about. So, okay. All right, so Tony was saying on Thursday that there are several parables in the Bible that talk about money and things of that nature. So I'm pretty sure we were probably on the same page. Let me let him get his readers out. And if y'all bear with me, I want Tony to read the parables of the talents for us. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. All right, so this is from the New King James Version, and this is coming from Matthew chapter 25, and it reads the parable of the talents. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, another 2, and to another 1. To each according to his own ability, and immediately he went on a journey. Then he who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5 talents. And likewise, he who had received 2 gained 2 more also. But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money. After a long time, the Lord of the servants came and settled accounts with them. So he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you delivered to me 5 talents. Look, I have gained 5 more talents beside them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you a ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. He who also had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, you delivered to me 2 talents. Look, I have gained 2 more talents beside them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So as you can see, it is commissioned for us to understand how to invest and multiply. And that we are seen, when we're able to do that, as being able to handle more and more things. And by handling those things, you have a comment, D? Okay. By being able to handle those things, they say he'll never put more on you than you can bear, right? So, but as we can see, we are commissioned to kind of learn how to handle those things.
My question is this. Down through the years, they always tell you, when you talk about doing a little bit of investment for the church,
Mm-hmm.
and people don't want you to invest the church money no kind of way most of the time.
Sure.
Is there a reason for that? In the Bible, Jesus speaks of it.
So that's a good question. So Deke's question was, should the church invest its money? And I think the answer would be, if we're being a good steward of the church's money, we should. Because like you just pointed out, it speaks that we should grow it. And if we're able to grow it in a manner that's pleasing to him, then we're able to serve more people. Again, our impact can reach further. So I think, as the parable points out, the idea is to invest it in order for us to increase our impact. So, yes.
I'm on, okay. I would say yes to invest in the church money. And I think it was a misunderstanding that people had. But I think it's a great idea. I'm not saying invest in high risk things, but I'm saying some moderate, low risk thing. I think it's a wise thing. I also think, though, that you need somebody who understands investing to do that. That's why I asked for somebody who understands investing to be on the finance team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you just can't put me on the finance team. you lose all your money. Now I think that's wrong to put me on there, but somebody who understands it,
Sure.
I think it's a great idea. Many churches do it today. That's why you see churches growing
Sure.
physically, and they're growing because they're investing the money.
Absolutely. So, as Pastor's saying, the church doesn't get a pass on inflation. I mean, Duke Utility is going to charge us more money. So, in order to keep up, we have to do those things. All right. So we've had such a good discussion and talked about order, But before we get started, I want to kind of do a quick reflection. So we started 3 weeks ago, and we talked about places where you felt comfortable in your financial lives and places where you maybe felt a little need. So over these 3 weeks, can anyone share like places where they feel like they've either strengthened their comfort or there's been that uncomfortable place? Come back.
I'll take it.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Or look at a place where you had a need and you feel a little bit more comfortable there. So anyone have anything they want to share? Don't all speak at once.
The one thing that we are doing differently. Doing differently is you talked about our strategy was to pay the little things first, but then we kind of flipped that and started looking at like tackling the bigger things to see the difference. And so that was a different mindset because, yeah, that makes a bigger difference. It could make a bigger impact.
I was gonna say ours is with the baby coming, we need to call Spectrum and tell them, hey, there's got to be something we need a promotion or something because, what you talked about is real because it's just like when you start to look at, being more responsible and, where can you trim stuff up? Like, how many channels do you really need? How many channels can you really watch? So it's a work in progress, but we're working on that, so.
Thank you, sir. All right, wonderful, wonderful. So like Tony's just pointed out, I mean, in reality, we have these cable networks and we watch maybe 10 channels out of the 150 they give us. And then great with Chandra and Greg with the turnaround there and going, hey, if we kind of look at this another way, maybe it will speed up where we're going. So it's wonderful that, again, that we are having these classes and these discussions in order for us to kind of move forward and become better stewards. All right, so we've talked a lot about order and having a plan and having really a prescription for how we do things. And I would dare say that most of us do much better when we've been handed a script. I mean, when we go to the grocery store, if we don't have a list, we struggle. We struggle to remember what we're supposed to get. Then we get distracted with things that we're not supposed to get. So when we're able to create order that we've been talking about, it just helps us along. So we're going to spend just a few minutes talking about the value of that order. So as you can see on the screen, that repeatable order process kind of stops impulsive actions and minimizes and makes decisions become more rational for us. Because again, we have a pattern, and we talked about our brain likes to follow patterns. So we're trying to change the pattern that our brain follows. Then it leads to streamlining our processes. And now we have enhanced confidence in our financial decisions because we're not having to worry over them and think about them, because that becomes stressful in and of itself. Next, it enables us to reach our goals because now we've created a path to do things orderly, and whether it's $10 and then we're going to increase to $20, but now we've got a commitment to it. So by consistently following a plan, the likelihood of achieving long-term financial goals increases. Habitual in a repeatable order reduces, again, as we said earlier, the temptation to spend impulsively, but it makes it easier to achieve personal wealth goals through steady progress. We're not looking to be rich in June, but we're looking to gain steady progress. And again, this process, again, encourages a culture of continuous improvement and ensures everyone remains committed to their goals. So I purposely kind of highlighted "and families" because we need to bring the other person into the discussion. And it's not to dominate, but it's to educate and get on the same page. So developing sustainable wealth relies on forming positive financial habits through consistent repetition. Regular saving, mindful spending, and investing then become second nature because now it's a habit. You know, think about driving home. When you drive home, it's almost like sometimes you don't even remember driving home because you do it so much. It's repeatable. And you get home, you're like, how did I even get here? All right, so this leads right into what we just talked about, the parables that Tony mentioned to start us out with. So now we're going to create the order for you all in how you actually fund these things in the correct order and what that will mean for you. All right, so the big topics are going to be emergency fund, the employer match, tax advantaged accounts, and just general investments. All right, so we've already talked about the emergency fund and funding that. So we already know what that looks like. We've done that. We've met that goal, right? We're on our way to that one. Yes, sir.
Should not the church itself too be on a 9-month
3 to 9.
savings account, 3 to 9 months?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That was very evident from COVID, right?
Yes. Yes.
When COVID hit,
Yes.
probably income stopped,
Yes.
slowed way down,
Slow down.
right? Again, the building was running, the lights were on, those bills kept coming.
Yeah, none of them slowed down.
None of them slowed down. None of them slowed down. You think about now, like a lot of these companies that are government funded, your Medicaid. If you're a business running and you're heavily reliant upon Medicaid and they cut your funding for a period of time, as they will do, because they know that some companies are not prepared. And it's a way for them to get you out. So sometimes that's purposeful. They can't find a legitimate way to ban you from participating in this money. So they say, well, we can force them out because more than likely they probably haven't prepared. They probably spent all the money anyway. So some of that can be intentional. But yes, Pastor, that's right. Just like the household, the businesses should prepare in the same manner.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, so the employer match. And we'll do some definitions as we go through. But the employer match is where you have a retirement plan available at your place of employment. And your employer basically says, hey, for every 5% of your salary that you put in, we'll match that and put in 5%. So if we don't do that, what are we leaving on the table? Free money. Free money. We don't get free money a lot. So we have to always get the free money. So prepare to at least do the match. All right, so next we're going to talk about Roth accounts. But before we get into that, let's make sure we got clear definitions. is everyone pretty familiar in our online people with stocks and what they are, what they represent, and bonds? So just as a quick recap, stocks and bonds are two ways in which a company raises capital, raises money. They can offer stocks in which they are offering ownership of their company, and we want to grow with the company and share in that company's success. Or they may not want us to be owners and they'll offer bonds. So they're saying they want to borrow money from us, pay us an interest rate, and then give us our money back after a set time. So those are the basic two ways that companies raise money. And those tend to be the things that are in your investment accounts: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and exchange traded funds, or primarily what you see. Yes, Greg?
Thank you. Can you speak briefly to the difference between what we do now with the 401ks, 403bs, versus companies that used to have pension plans, and why they stopped doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of companies, to really probably increase profitability, have ceased the pension plans. So what Greg's question is going to, your 403b, your 401k, those are simply IRS terms in terms of they're all retirement plans. It's just the code in the IRS section that applies to the type of company you're at. And so you're more in control of that. The pension is where a company is putting in money for you it's called a defined benefit plan. So they're going to define what that benefit is going to be for you after a certain amount of time, and they're putting in money on your behalf such that you will have retirement income down the road. A lot of that has stopped. I know Blue Cross Blue Shield stopped theirs. Yep. And more recently, they forced a lot of people out of their pension plan. So you're seeing a lot of that. Essentially, a pension plan is an annuity where they go to an insurance company and invest the money for you. But since it's a defined benefit plan, just think of it this way. So if they're defining a benefit and you're going to get $3,000 a month at retirement, if investments underperform that year, they have to put more money into the plan because they have guaranteed that result. So that's why you're seeing a lot of that happening, because performance has kind of dwindled and they're having to spend more money. Yeah. All right. So now we're talking about Roth accounts. So Roth are after-tax contributions. When you want to kind of control your taxes on your retirement, you're probably going to do a Roth because you know what taxes are today. So your trade-off is to go, I'm going to pay my taxes today, invest the money after tax, it grows tax deferred, and when I pull it out at retirement, if it's a qualified distribution, it's tax-free at that time. I would encourage everyone to get a Roth personally. From the first standpoint of just to get the clock started, because there's a 5-year clock to make it a qualified distribution. So even if you just put $1 in it, we're just trying to get the clock started. Because as you'll see, we can also do Roth 401k. That clock doesn't count. Only your personal Roth clock counts. So you have to get a personal Roth as well. All right. Any questions there on the Roth? The Roths came about 1997, I think, or so. And that'll be important a little bit later in the discussion.
Marcus, I don't fully understand when you said that there's a 5-year, what was that mean?
Okay, so for a Roth to be a qualified tax-free, so his question was the 5-year requirement on a Roth. So let's say we start a Roth today and we put money in. You can always take out what you've put in tax-free. The growth would be subject to income tax if it's not been in there for 5 years. Okay? If it's before the age of 59 and a half, it would have the 10% early withdrawal penalty. Now, keep in mind, if you start a Roth, let's say you started a Roth at State Employees Credit Union, and you transferred it to Fidelity. It's on you to keep up with when it started to prove to the IRS, because when you transfer it, Fidelity is not going to know when you started it. So make sure when you start those Roths, you document when you started it, because you've got to be able to prove that to the IRS should they have a question. Make sense? All right, so our next bucket, and this is just kind of talking about the power of Roth. The other thing with the Roth is you avoid the required minimum distributions. So with a 401k or a traditional IRA, once you hit age 72 and a half, because the IRS wants some tax money, they make you start taking a minimum amount out of your retirement accounts, whether you need it or not, to generate a tax bill. If it's Roth, well, they're not going to get any taxes, so they don't care when you take it out. So again, you're controlling a little bit.
Who determines the amount for that required distribution?
Oh, it's a very complicated formula. It's something divided by 27 and a half years, yada, yada, yada. But you can, of course, Google RMD calculators, put in the amount of money, put in your age, and it'll show you that table. But it's a very complicated formula, to be honest. Yep. The IRS does. All right, so our next bucket becomes pre-tax dollars, your traditional IRA and your traditional 401k. Now, keep in mind, you can do both at work. If your employer has Roth contributions and pre-tax, you're allowed to do both. You just can't go over the maximum amount. So your pre-tax, you're going, hey, I'm in a higher tax bracket today. I want to lower my tax bill today, so I'm going to put some money in pre-tax, and I'll pull it out at retirement and pay taxes then. Maybe your bet is you're going to be in a lower tax bracket then than you are now. But as we go through the strategy, you're going to see how we can actually keep that money pre-tax. So that's your pre-tax bucket. And then for those of us who are self-employed, you're going to have some other options such as solo 401ks, SEP IRAs. They're just a different way to fund it. Again, IRS code is basically what we're talking about here. Same concept, just different language for self-employed people. All right, the next bucket you want to fund is your health savings account, if you have availability for one. Best thing in the IRS tax code is triple tax-free. When you make your deposits during the year, you get a tax deduction. It can grow, tax deferred, and when you pull it out for qualified medical expenses, it's tax-free. So you want to fund those health savings accounts if they're available to you. And we just talked about the tax benefits there, long-term savings growth, and retirement health care expense management. Yes. Yeah.
So going back to the health savings account, what happens if I don't use that money? What happens to the money? How can I roll it over to something else, or what happens?
So if you do not need the health savings account money, it simply becomes a regular mutual fund investment account, and you would pay tax on the gain because you're pulling it out and not using it for health care expenses. Almost like a 529 plan, so your education plans that you have for your children. You put money in the 529, kid gets a scholarship, don't need it, technically you can pull it out. But the cool thing about a 529 plan is you can continue to change the beneficiary. You could change the beneficiary to yourself and go back to school. You can change it to the next generation. So that's the neat part of a 529. Yes, ma'am.
Health savings account, Where do I open those at? Who's gonna help me open that?
So you could open it like at Fidelity has health savings accounts. There's some kind of strict qualifications for those that we can kind of go over. You more commonly see them at work, but there are ways to open them on your own. They require you have a high deductible plan paired with a health savings account, but you can certainly do it. Fidelity tends to be the one I see a lot of people using.
I was going to ask you that because you said earlier, you said if you want to roll an account from state employees over to Fidelity, and you specifically mentioned Fidelity, and I was wondering why Fidelity?
I'm just picking a name, not that they're better or worse. Yeah, just referencing Fidelity. That's another question. So you have what's called proprietary funds, meaning Fidelity has Fidelity funds. If you go to a Wells Fargo advisor, you will probably end up with Wells Fargo funds. Whether or not they're the best or not for you, you're going to have them. So that's where you get into conflicts of interest. In that situation, though, Fidelity is more of a holding company for you because they're not going to aggressively try and manage that account because it's not big enough for them. But in other situations, you just become a feeder. Then you're gonna get a lot of phone calls like, "Hey, what else do you have?" You know, basically. All right, and then finally, you're gonna have a taxable brokerage account. So a taxable brokerage account is where you have no income limits. You can put anything in there, but it's got to be tax efficient. And what I mean by that is, let's talk a little bit about when you have investments, let's say Walmart. You own Walmart stock, and Walmart stock is going to pay you dividends, right? They say for every share you have, we're going to give you $1 dividend quarterly. So let's say you have 100 shares of Walmart, so each quarter you're getting $100. More than likely, you've set up that account where that dividend gets reinvested. Because you say, well, just turn it back. I don't really want the money. Just turn it back around and invest it and buy more Walmart. But you're going to get a tax bill because it's in a taxable brokerage account. So most people I know don't like paying tax on money they don't touch. So when you have your taxable brokerage account, you want it to be tax efficient. So you're not going to put Walmart in that taxable brokerage account. You're going to buy it in your Roth or your traditional IRA so it can stay tax-free and work a little bit harder. You're going to put your non-dividend paying stocks in your brokerage account, or you can have exchange-traded funds because they're the most tax-efficient way to invest because they do not pay dividends or capital gains. They just simply grow in value. So here in this taxable brokerage account, what we're trying to do is manage taxes as well. But give us another bucket because there's no income limitation. You can put as much money. This is where we need to be buying our children's stock in ETFs. It would be in a brokerage account for them.
I hope I'm asking this question correctly because you've already exceeded my vocabulary understanding with just what you explained. How do I choose between Wells Fargo, Fidelity, all of these people who are selling these instruments that I have no understanding of? How do I choose one?
That is an awesome question. Awesome. Okay, let me see. Since I'm live, I've got to be politically correct in answering this question. Okay, so we talked about this in small group. All right. So, like, the credential I have is a certified financial planner. There are 105,000 certified financial planners in the United States. It's a very difficult test. It's a 6-hour exam, has about a 60% pass rate. So, very difficult test. There are only about 1,900 African American certified financial planners in the country. Yeah. Now, of the 105,000 certified financial planners, there are only about 5,000 that are fee only, meaning we don't sell anything. We have nothing to sell. It's just advice. So what did that number just tell you? There are 95,000, or probably 95% of the market is still selling product. So what you want to look for is a fee-only advisor. And preferably you want a independent advisor, a group who has their own registered investment advisor company. Because that person does not have anything to sell you. They don't have any products or anything. When you go to some of these brokerage houses, again, you're going to get some conflicting reports sometimes, because the Wells Fargo mutual fund people wrote up a glowing report about the Wells Fargo growth fund, and then when you sit down with the Wells Fargo advisor, he just happens to have that same report and say, look how well it's doing. Whereas for me to give you an example, we have software where we can evaluate all the funds side by side and look at performance, cost, things of that nature. Give you an example, I have a person we're looking at their portfolio, and they said they wanted to leave it with their, when they retired, they said they wanted to leave it with their company. No problem. So when I drilled down and took a look at their cost, I said, you can do that, but your investment expenses are $7,500 a year. Our investment expenses are $1,200 a year. Now, your risk that you're taking, so their risk that they were taking, they were getting, let's just say their risk level was 10, and they were getting back 12%. And our risk level was 8, and we were getting 12%. So the two things just didn't match. They were taking more risk, but actually getting less return. So you need someone who's going to do that type of a deep dive on your portfolio, because what we're all trying to do is minimize our risk for the maximum amount of gain. So, but the succinct answer to your question would be, you want to look for a fee-only financial advisor. The National Association of Personal Financial Advisors is the best place to look, because that's where we had to go through to get our fee only. They recognize us as fee only. And you can't just join it. We actually had to submit a financial plan, have it reviewed by peers, and it's like a 6-week process to become a member of the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. So hopefully that's helpful, because anyone can call themselves a financial advisor. Unfortunately, in our industry, you're going to have insurance agents call themselves financial advisors. Your banker's going to call themselves a financial advisor. So anyone can use that term, so it does get really confusing to the public.
So the National Association
Yes. So if you go to their website, you can put in your zip code, and it'll pull up everybody close to you. You can say, I want all the fee-only advisors within 5 miles of me. And it'll pull up everybody who's within 5 miles of you. And then you can click and go straight to their website and read about them. The Certified Financial Planner website, Let's Make a Plan, is also a great place to go. You can find advisors there. And the Fee-Only Network also is a good place to find advisors. All of those you can put in your zip code, scale down to a certain radius, you'll see people. Yes, sir. Absolutely. So what Deacon Adams was saying was, the bigger the company, the more overhead, the higher the fee. Absolutely. So and that's why I went independent, because after I started scaling back the cost and made a call, tell you a quick story. So I'm speaking to John Hancock advisor. John Hancock wholesaler rep. And I asked him one day, I said, so if you were me, would you go independent? He didn't hesitate. He said, absolutely. So I said, well, explain why. He said, well, first of all, Marcus, you can't even see all of our products. He said, they pick and choose which ones you can see. So I was like, that's interesting. So then I started doing some due diligence, and I called a independent firm, broker-dealer, who could handle our accounts. And I said, so hey, I use this particular software called InvestNet. If I come over to you guys, do you all use it? They go, yes. I said, okay, what's my cost? They say 20 basis points, which is 0.2%, which ends up being 0.002. I'm like, okay, well, I'm at Cetera, and they're charging me 40 basis points. So that told me they're taking a cut above, which I then had to pass on to the client. So as you start to do the math, you go, and then they have you on a tier. So if you're producing, I don't know, $50,000 in revenue, you may only get 50% of that. So then after you start to do the math, you go, wait a minute. So I could actually leave you all, reduce what I'm charging to my clients, and come out ahead. So I don't really know how that model's going to exist. It will exist for those people who don't want to go through the compliance of doing their own compliance and having their own registered investment advisory firm. But for the client, it's just a win all the way around. Sure.
And you might tell me I might need to call myself a financial planner. The risk level that you're going to give me, opposed to Tony and average time of their life, a lot of you different.
Absolutely.
Where does that risk level and this is a personal question, how do I know when my risk should be zero? Because you're talking about stocks. Now is not the time that I want to walk and buy stocks.
Sure.
And maybe you tell me that's not wise because the market just took a dip, but who's going to advise me on that?
So if you're going through that financial planning process, the advisor should be, the way we would do that is, so you've given us a number, a budget. We've got your budget, your retirement budget, and then we have your assets that you have. Now we will determine, based on your assets that you have, what return do I need for you to live to 94? And then we can go, okay, we have enough assets to do that. I can bring your risk down. Or we don't have enough assets. How can we get you in the right place? So a person's kind of going to go backwards to solve that problem to make sure you're not taking more risk than you need to. Now, to your point, we've got to stay a little bit invested because you don't want to try and time the market, but you can be smart. So right now, we're sitting kind of on the sidelines with a lot of people. We're in bonds. We've tilted the portfolio. So maybe you're supposed to be 50-50, 50% equities, 50% bonds. Well, right now, because of the volatility, we've tilted that portfolio to probably more 60% bonds and about 40% equity. Because, like you're saying, a retiree can't afford that dip. So rule number one is to avoid large losses. You can handle 1 or 2%. You can't handle 20. So that question is a little bit deeper than that, but trying to kind of give you a good high-level answer.
Why the market right now, because of Donald Trump's war, is fluctuating so much? It's also fluctuating because Donald Trump is manipulating the market as well. Donald Trump knows that the words that he say will move the market either up or down. And he's advising his friends prior to saying those words so that they can invest based on whether that market is rising or not. In other words, if he's going to say something very positive today, he knows that the market is going to react to that, and so he notifies his friends. They invest. he also knows when he says he's about to say something negative, that that's going to impact the market as well. And his friends have the advantage of knowing that, where the lay people like us, we're not privy to that information.
Absolutely. And where the lay people then can win is where, advisors like ourselves, because when he got elected, we knew it was going to be turbulent. We started moving money in November, right after he got elected. And we were calling our clients saying, look, we've got to get these strategies in place before he walks into office. So what we did was we put option strategies, so we're getting a little bit advanced here, but we put some option strategies around our clients' accounts, such that whichever way the market is going to move, we're going to be able to take advantage of that. Because we don't know which way it's going to move, but we put those strategies around as insurance around our clients' accounts, such that they were performing about 1.5 points better than the market. So again, that's where this class comes in, knowing what you can do to respond to these times. All right, so we got a lot more to cover, so all right, let's go. All right, so that brokerage account gives us that flexibility. All right, so this is what I really want to show y'all. How can you build a $100,000 tax-free retirement? So I'm going to go fast because we still got estate planning, but y'all follow me, okay? All right, so step number one, this is what we're taught to do. Put in the money pre-tax, right? Take it out at retirement. You end up with a federal bill of $8,071 and a state bill of $3,166. So about $11,000. All right, so what we're going to do is we've got bucket number one, the pre-tax bucket. So the IRS gives us a threshold. So as a married couple, we have a standard deduction of $31,500. So the IRS is basically telling us your first $31,500 is not taxed. We're going to pull out from the pre-tax bucket $31,500. So we're going to keep that pre-tax money pre-tax. So we're going to manipulate the code now. Our next bucket we're going to pull out is we're going to pull from the capital gains, the taxable brokerage account. So in 2017, the IRS, when they did the new Tax Jobs and Cuts Act, they put in a 0% capital gains bracket. So if you're able to keep your income within that bracket, you can sell your stocks that were in that taxable brokerage account and have a 0% capital gain. So we're going to sell $32,500 worth of that to keep us in the 0% tax bracket. Next, we're going to pull from our Roth. We're going to pull, now from the Roth, you can pull as much as you want to, because we already paid tax on that money. But for our illustration, we're just going to pull out enough to get us now up to $93,000 of income. And then finally, the average retiree will spend about $3,500 per person per year on health insurance, your insurance premiums, whatever. Well, long as it's for insurance premiums, you can pull it out of your health savings account. So each retiree is going to pull out $3,500, $7,000. We're at $100,000, and our tax bill is 0. Now, most of us in this room, most of us, them excluded, y'all can take advantage of this. Most of us didn't know this. These laws didn't change until 2017. We didn't know to have a taxable brokerage account, but now we do know. So those who still have time can set this up. We just went through the buckets we need to fill, how to fill them, and now you know how to pull it out. So we can do it and touch the money. Ooh. Yeah, that's a loaded question. Oh, her question was, who still has time? Um, it's the need, how much income you need in retirement, and how much resources you have to put away. Some of it you can reposition because you can do what's called Roth conversions. If you have a ton of money in your pre-tax, you can do some conversions, and that will save you taxable dollars. I did one illustration for a lady the other day. She said she had about $600,000 in her 401k. She's 4 years from having to start taking the RMDs where she has to take them. But if we can do some Roth conversions for her over the next 4 years, we will save her $90,000 in taxes. So it's not too late. There are still some things you can do to help ease that tax burden. Got a couple questions in the back. I'm sorry, say that again? No, non-retirees or retirees could still convert, yeah. But once you get to retirement, once you get to 72 and a half and the RMDs start, you probably don't want to do it at that point.
My question relates to Social Security, because some people in here do receive Social Security benefits. How much is that is taxable?
Right. So your Social Security benefits, that would impact this illustration here. Your Social Security is 2 levels. So for a single person, once they hit, I want to say $25,000, 50% of their Social Security becomes taxable, and I think it's $34,500, 85% of their Social Security becomes taxable. Now, what Trump did in the latest law by giving those 65 and older an additional standard deduction of $6,000, we have started to see that impact returns, and people are getting back about $1,000 more because it's making less of their Social Security taxable. So that was one benefit of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, but but there was no solution as to how you're going to pay for that. So that's where the problem comes in. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're going to run through estate planning real quick. And as it says in the Bible, we should be doing, question in the back.
What is a CD?
Okay, all right, her question was, what is a CD? So again, I'm going to be politically correct. So a CD is where the bank whispers to you, I got a deal. And they say, you give me $10,000, you let me hold it for whatever period you pick, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And in exchange, I'm going to give you 4% interest back. And then they take your money and go to the same market that we can go to and get 7% and to give you your 4% back and make 3% off of your money. So I'm not a fan of CDs. There's a way you can get around that by going straight to the market and guaranteeing it yourself with what's called the Treasury Floating Rate Bond Fund. So again, that's the government loaning the money directly to you, and you bypassing the bank. And you'll get the same return, and you can get your money when you want to. It's not tied up. Because the bank is going to say you've got to leave it there that whole 9 months to get the interest. So I don't like when the people hold your money hostage. You need the flexibility to get to your money without penalty. That's why we don't like annuities a lot. So that fund is called the Treasury Floating Rate Bond Fund. The symbol is TFLO, TFLO.
Not all of what you're doing now, but and this goes to pastor education. I'm sure there's lots more of this information that we would like to get, along with our maturing kids.
Sure.
Is there any way, pastor, Christian education, that we can get a continuation of something more of this class? Because I feel that there's more that you can offer us, and we can get it from you instead of, I I know you get paid for the services that you do on your private time. So the information that I feel that you're giving us here now is something that a lot of us feel that is very helpful. And I feel that it should be a continuation of something to this class so where we can get that information out of you that we are looking for.
Absolutely. So Deacon's question was, or comment was that, can we structure Christian education to do a deeper dive on these topics? And I'm certainly here for that. Because you see how we got involved with just that investment piece. And it's a lot more to that conversation. Yep, we need to do a separate one for them as well. We've got, I've talked to Pastor about it already, we've got one seminar just on how to shop for college. Because there is a science to it. We've got one for pre-retirees to take a real deep dive on this. Insurance, how to buy insurance, how to pay attention to insurance. When do you need insurance? So I think that's probably the intent, is for us to come back at some point in time throughout the year with different classes on a deeper dive. Absolutely. All right, so we're going to run through estate planning real quick. And we all know if you don't make an estate plan, the state of North Carolina is going to do it for you. Okay? So let's get ahead of that. All right, so the things you're going to have are an executor, appointing guardians, this is property distribution, and there's going to be a probate process, right? What we want to do is avoid probate when we can. Okay? All right. So we do that with a will, but even with a will, you're still going to go through probate. Okay? Make sure you have these things in line, which we call will substitutes. So on your bank accounts, you've got to have payable on death or transfer on death, depending upon which bank. They may call it one or two things. If you do not have that, that money's going through probate. That's how it passes without going through probate. On your brokerage account, that taxable brokerage account we talked about, transfer on death, insurance policies, you're going to have a beneficiary. And never name your estate as the beneficiary. Okay. Revocable living trust, lifetime gifts. So you can start to give to get things out of your name, to get it, while you're still here, to avoid that probate process. And then owning things joint tenants with right of survivorship. So Amber and Tony own their house together. Well, I don't want to use you all. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith own their house together. Mr. Smith passes away. Because they're joint tenants, the property passes to the survivor. Now, what you're seeing a lot of is, all right, next, your healthcare directives and your financial management tools become that durable power of attorney. So when you give power of attorney, that generally takes care of everything. That person can handle your finances, your bills, things of that nature. Your healthcare directives tells what you want to happen. Make sure that, like, if you know the hospital that you're normally going to go to, go ahead and file your healthcare directive. We've been in a class where they've taught us that the person was in surgery, the child that was there with the parent stepped out to get something to eat, and something went wrong in the surgery. Of course, the physicians do what physicians do. They try and save the person. The person did not want to be saved, but the child had stepped out, so there was nobody to talk to. So they needed to have filed that directive, one, when they went into the surgery, or two, at the hospital. So make sure you have those things in place so you can have your wishes honored. Let's talk a little bit about, a trust. What we're seeing a lot of now is you're seeing attorneys do what we call pour over wills into a trust. So basically they'll write your will, and in your will, they will usually tell you anything specific that you want, put it in your will. So for instance, if you have a wedding dress and you want that wedding dress to go to daughter A, put that in your will. Anything else, they just let it fall into your trust. So they say anything that you didn't name would then just go into your trust, and you do all your explaining at the trust level as to what you want to happen. The reason that's important is your trust doesn't go through probate. Your trust is private. So here's a way things can get hemmed up really quickly. So I had have a client where the sister's mom passed. The mom had 2 rental properties and her residence. Willed them to the children, which was correct. But the problem became mom had a couple bills that she had run up, credit card or whatever it was. So again, that property's got to go through probate. And so until those bills got paid, they would not retitle those properties. Had mom put those properties in the trust, they'd have never had to pay those bills.
We listened to that same information from the young lady off Ricky Smiley show.
Mm-hmm.
She gave me the same information that you're giving now. Because so many of us, I hate to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
When a mother or father dies, the mother and they die, the children are caught between, well, 3 of them want to sell a house, 3 of them don't. And I asked the question on the radio, well, buy them out, the 3 that wants to sell it, and then give them the half. They thinking they're gonna get a large amount because the house is up for sale. No, that's gonna be split in 3 ways before you 3 that want to sell it. And that's the way she explains it. Let them sell it, and you buy them out and continue to go with what you want to do.
Right, yeah, and like Vernon's saying, but the hard thing, like I said, is them coming to an agreement. So let's take them out of it. Yeah. So who worked hard for this house? Right. So mama needs to get to say what happens with the house. Yes.
What if one of them stole the wheel before he actually, mom actually
So technically, so Tim's question was, what if the will got stolen? Technically, the attorney who does the will is going to file it at the county. And we got one more question in the back. I know we're over. Yes. So her question was, property has 2 names on the deed. That's the joint tenants with right of survivorship that we talked about. So the surviving person would own the property. Got one more question, Tony, up front.
I got it. So, Marcus, I know we're getting close to close, but I think what you, because you've given us so much, one of the things from this parable that we started with the 2 investors, or the 2 servants, right? But there was the third one, right? Mm-hmm. And the third one didn't do anything with the money, right?
Correct.
He dug a hole in the ground and he put it in, and so when the master came back, the master was just like, you could at least put it in the bank and it could have earned interest. And he said, you wicked servant, be gone from me and cast into eternal darkness. What I think, and what I got to commend you for what you've done, is that you have taught us that finances take some work. And what I used to my principle was, I make my money, I put it in the bank, it should be fine. But what you've taught us is that, like, I know Jesus used this parable to teach, but you also taught us it's like, yeah, you can put it in the bank and be fine, but I've given you so much, what else can you do with it?
Sure.
And it takes work.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with a little bit of work and understanding and making the most of what God has given you with in terms of money. So, like I said, I know that we're about to end, and I know we got so much more to cover. But before that, I thought that it was important to tie that back to what we started with, because we talk about spirituality. Finances is also part of spirituality too. And so I got to commend you, brother, for what you've done in this series, because this has been outstanding.
Good.
Outstanding.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. And that really brought it home. Tony ended it up right there, as he's saying. It was work to come here, right? Y'all got up, came, attended, watched. That's part of the process. And that's how we learn and grow. So again, hopefully this has been helpful to someone online. Hopefully it's been helpful. Look forward to continuing the conversation. Hopefully we're all in better shape than when we walked in 4 weeks ago. And we'll all continue to improve and get better. So again, thank you all for allowing us to have the Sunday Academy. And we'll see you all online next time. Thank you.